What's up, guys? We have a game against Pear Tree 2030 from Cuba. Um, we couldn't take down big boy Pear Tree with 88% accuracy. Our measly 78 did not cut it. Um, so let's go through the game. We played 1d6 to play our Pirc defense. So I play g6 and he goes bishop e3, indicating he might want to castle long. So I want to prepare for that as soon as possible. I want to throw in an early c6 in case he does go castles. I want to have b5 ready. b5, b4. He develops his knight. I standard fianchetto. Now he indicates aggressive action. So I start my counter offense, b5. He doesn't castle. He goes bishop d3. So I wait one turn as well, and I develop my knight to the center, bishop d7. So now we're in like a standoff. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, he castles. Short, not long. I scared him with this. So now I castle short because there's nothing to worry about. He plays h3, I guess stopping any knight g4s or bishop g4s. That's fine. Here, you know, if he doesn't castle queenside and you're not playing for b4, then you're playing for e5 as soon as you can play it. And that's the important thing to do here. But instead I go bishop b7, and it's important for me to remember to play e5 as early as possible and not to delay it with other moves like this, because then they can push and I'm not getting what I was looking for. So I take the pawn. There is an option of knight e8, but it's complicated. So I take the pawn, he takes the pawn, and here I should go b4. And another thing I need to remember is when they do e5, I need to counter with b4, because in this setup the queen is hit. So like b4, if he takes my knight, I take his knight, but the queen's hit, so he has to respond. So let's say he takes it, and then you can take this and you're fine, and you just open up the center for yourself. But I didn't do that. I forgot that idea. I need to remember that. And instead I move my knight in the center, saying if you take my knight, I'll recapture. And sure, this pawn is hanging, but this pawn is hanging, and I should be fine. So he takes, I take, but now he doesn't actually take here. He does a different move, a better move, the only move. Bishop d4, protecting the center pawn and just, you know, solidifying his position nicely. So now I protect my pawn because, okay, he didn't want to trade pawns. I'm going to keep mine. He moves his rook to a well, it's not semi-open, but it has a couple squares. So it makes sense. Now I have to watch out for, like, you know, e6 pushes. So I'm pushing e6 myself. But now this light square bishop is really sad. That's the thing. It's just so ugly. It's not going anywhere. Doesn't really have prospects. So now he plays h3, h4. That's the idea he comes up with here, which computer loves. Just keep going with the h-pawn because you have this firepower. And black doesn't really have any ideas here. And there's no king here, so what is black really doing in this position? I just move my rook over to the open file. I figure, what else? What else is there to do? He keeps going. Fine. Boom. knight c5, because I figure I can't push pawns because one of them hangs. This bishop isn't going anywhere. Like, I'm never pushing these guys. What's the point of moving anything? How can I improve anything? And then knight c5 looks like an improving move, so knight c5. And now he hits the bishop, and I have to go back. And now my position's looking very unappealing and cramped. He jumps his knight in, hitting both of these squares, but all of these squares are actually defended. And it does attach itself to my queen, so now his queen's attached to the knight. So it looks aggressive though, for sure. And I look like I'm completely boxed in. And I have no idea what to do here. Because what do you do here? There's this crazy tactic with b4, saying if you take me, like I'll take you here and take here, but I didn't see any of that. I tried to just find like a logical move out. I said, okay, at the very least, this defends a piece, defends this square, allows me to double. It seems like a useful move. He finds the best move, applying double pressure to the knight. So now my knight has to make a decision, or I need to defend it, or something like that. So now I add protection, a second defender, and I got my queen off so I can maybe double if I need to. He takes the knight, and here I have a great opportunity to stop him from starting any type of attack. And simplify and give myself more freedom to try to hold this ending. I should take with the queen, because his queen, it offers a queen trade, which would relieve me of a lot of pressure and a lot of ideas in my king that's trapped. I don't know why I took with the rook though. What did I want? I'm like, what? It's not like I'm the one who's fighting for a win or anything. So my instinct should have been to trade the queens. But it wasn't. I took with the rook. And now he goes c3, and now I don't even have a plan. But it would have been nice if the queens were off the board, and now I, like in this same position. So I'm like, okay, I have no idea what to do. I might as well double it, but it doesn't do anything. I have to somehow, but b4 doesn't do anything because I can't infiltrate anywhere. So it was tricky position. And maybe I had to relocate this bishop here, defending this guy to push this guy. So he tries to break this down, and I support it with my bishop, maybe going here. He takes me, I take, he takes, and now it seems so obvious when I look at it that this rook is not attacking anything. If I recapture with the rook, it hits the pawn and activates my rook on another file. It also opens up my queen to come in. It's such an obvious recapture. But I took with the pawn, which I hate now that I look at it. If this pawn didn't exist, I'd like it because of the pressure, but seeing the option, I would much rather do this. Yes, of course he can take it, but then you get this pawn and this pawn hangs. That would still look weird with back rank issues. My king is just another reason it would be nice to have a queen trade in, but so I took with the pawn, but now that gives him immediate pressure, and he can double. And I'm not actually taking a pawn here, which was what you need to justify all this. And here I had to go with the pawn sack, just push the pawn, try to trade. So like push. something like this. Just sack the pawn, hold the back line. Um, but instead, I panicked and went queen c7, which is just a I don't know what to do move. You can't even say, well, it attacks the rook, because you know he's going to double, so it doesn't actually attack the rook. It doesn't do anything to this pawn, and you're not adding pressure to anything because of this guy's here. And once you realize the whole idea, which I'd never realized, is this pressure, once he doubles, this whole thing happens. Moving your queen over on the same line is just a big waste of time, and you need that time to avoid all of these problems. Even if you need to just move your rook back and sack the pawn and try to play that. It's pretty bad, yeah. So I do this, which is clearly bad because of his future ideas, which I failed to look into. And now I'm like, you know what? He left this pawn. Let me take it. But it makes no sense tactic-wise. It doesn't, like, his next move is obviously rook d7. So no matter what you do, your queen is hit and this pawn behind it. With the knight support and the queen, you know, that's the same as, and the pawn is the same as being game losing. So you can't allow any of that. You need to be able to move the queen for a queen trade. Yeah, you have to take this with the queen. The problem with taking with the queen immediately, like I took with the bishop, but ideally you want to take with the queen, right? To get the queen trade active. The thing is, he doesn't take your queen, he takes your rook. You just took a pawn, now he took a rook, and you can't take his rook because you have back rank problems, and these don't coordinate. So I realized that, and I took, which is why I took with the bishop, but I completely forgot about rook a7, which is such an obviously that's what he's going to do. I don't know what I was thinking here. I think I just realized there was no tactic when I took with the bishop and didn't pay attention to anything else in that position. So anyway, he does go here. I move it out of the way. He takes a pawn. Okay, it's just a pawn, even though it's +6. Just a pawn. I bring my rook back because otherwise he's just going to bring the second rook, and that's GG. However, this, unfortunately, the best move hangs the bishop because your position's completely hopeless. If I take with the queen, he takes back. Either way, it's losing. It's not a hanging queen, it's defended. And I resigned here. So if we go through that game, well, first of all, I should have played e5 earlier. That's one thing to do. And also b4 here, because he either can't allow this trade, or if he moves his knight, then you have this square freely without it being captured. So okay, we remember that. Now the position is ugly. This move has no purpose, it just looks pretty. This is actually a stronger square. It's already +3. That's why it feels like you don't have any moves, because you really don't have any moves. It's quite unfortunate. Yeah, this is really bad. Yeah, that's it. It only takes 1 or 2 mistakes, and that's all you need for your entire position to just fall apart when you have these hyper-modern openings. That's why people don't recommend them, but they're fun. So, Pirc takes us down. We learned a thing or two. We keep climbing to 2100.